this in just a moment. 0345 606 0973, the number to call. Have you forgiven Tony Blair yet for the Iraq war? It's 1:46. Well, we're talking about a former Prime Minister this hour and a current President. Too, US President Donald Trump has argued that the future of Western civilization, no less, is at stake in a big speech that he made in the last hour or so in the Polish capital, Warsaw. I'll bring you more details of what he said. Is he right about that? The threat to the West from various aspects of the East. 0345 606 0973, the number to call. You can text 84850 or tweet at LBC. That's coming up at 2. Abbas has called from Redbridge, another call from Redbridge, on the question of Tony Blair. Is it time to forgive him for Iraq, Abbas?
Hi there, good afternoon, Sheila. I think the more pertinent question really, Sheila, should be, perhaps we should be asking that to the million deaths or possibly up to 1 million deaths, civilian deaths in Iraq and their families and their friends. You know, Grenfell Tower went up and we were deeply shocked and hurt by those scenes, because to see human suffering on such a direct level being reported with such clarity affects our souls, affects our hearts, and it should do. But just imagine how many thousands of buildings went up in Iraq, and babies and children and families were trapped in those buildings. Not reported, not known. We don't even know their names. We don't even actually know their number because we don't have an exact number. That's the respect that we give lives that are lost overseas. We don't even know how many are lost. And so perhaps the more pertinent question should be that those are the people that should be asked as to whether they forgive Tony Blair or not. And more importantly, all this nonsense about his emotions were in the right place. Have we forgotten that Hans Blix, the person that we had appointed as the expert to go in and evaluate whether he did have weapons of mass destruction or not, came back with an emphatic no, that there are no weapons of mass destruction, and therefore he resigned before the war. Have we forgotten all of these facts?
But interestingly, no, I haven't forgotten that, no, but interestingly, in this Chilcot interview, he talks about the night before, let me find the exact words, the night before. Yeah, here we go. On the eve of the invasion, Tony Blair, this is quotes now, asked the then chair of the Joint Intelligence Committee, can you tell me beyond any reasonable doubt that Saddam has weapons of mass destruction? To which the answer was, yes, I can. I can tell you that. And then Chilcot says Tony Blair was entitled to rely on that. Turned out to be wrong, but he was entitled to rely on that assurance from the Joint Intelligence Committee. Do you disagree?
Look, the reality here is when people want to go to war, they will do whatever it takes to somehow legitimize their actions. But you can't legitimize something that's immoral. I think there's a fantastic saying in a verse in the Quran which says, your actions are judged by your intentions. Now, Cheney on the Trevor McDonald program quite clearly stated his case. And remember, these were the people who would have been pushing the intelligence services to come up with what they wanted to somehow legitimize the war. And his exact words were, it is irrelevant as to why we went to war with Iraq. What was relevant is that it was in the American interest. We could not have Saddam Hussein controlling the largest untapped oil reserves in the world and hold America to ransom. So it wasn't about weapons of mass destruction, and that's from his own mouth. So, you know, if we can sort of ignore all of that and come up with some wish-washy, analysis of, well,
it was regime change to start with, wasn't it?
Absolutely. So the goalpost kept moving, and that's why I say that your actions are judged by your intentions. If it had truly been to make the world a safer place and to stop tyranny and to stop violence and to stop the killing of innocent people, I would have been the first person to have supported that. But the reality is you have to be absolutely deluded and blind to the truth as to why we went to war. And there was only one reason. It was strategic benefit, it was oil benefit, and of course it was Saddam Hussein who claimed that he did not want to deal with oil in dollars anymore because the currency could eventually collapse and all we would end up with was vaults full of paper. I want to deal with oil in euros. That is suicide if you say that, because the Americans know that would be the end of the dollar if we stop trading in dollars with oil. The same thing happened with Gaddafi. He wanted the golden dinar. He did not want dollars anymore to trade oil in, because he said they will get all our oil and we will have paper sitting in our vaults. And that's what it's all about.
Do you believe when Tony Blair's spokesman says this has all been addressed, it's over? Is it?
It isn't over, because unfortunately we here and the Iraqis there who are born deformed because of the uranium-tipped missiles that we unleashed on them are still suffering. We're suffering because we have now an unprecedented amount of terrorism and terrorist threats, and we're all threatened, regardless of what religion, what culture, what colour we are. These mad people are targeting everyone.
All right, Abbas, thank you. Very passionate call from Abbas in Redbridge. Dave in Surbiton.